once again. So here we are today, ready to dive into the exciting theme of inclusion, skill development, and entrepreneurship. It's time to roll up our sleeves, have some real talk about the challenges we face, and figure out how to overcome them together. Let's explore new avenues for skill building, brainstorm ways to make up society more inclusive, and empower women from all walks of life. Because when we work together, there is no limit to what we can accomplish. It's imperative that we address these disparities head on, for they not only undermine the potential of our women, but also hinder the progress of our nation as a whole. As we engage in discussion and deliberations, let us strive for solutions that foster a more inclusive and equitable society. One where every individual, regardless of gender, has the opportunity to thrive and succeed. With this, I welcome our distinguished panels to discuss the role of women entrepreneurs in driving innovation. By empowering women entrepreneurs and business leaders, India can unlock untapped potential, drive innovation, and stimulate job creation across different sectors. Investing in women-led businesses has proven to yield significant returns both economically and socially, and yet how much are we able to actualize is my very first question to all my eminent panelists. So I'm beginning by giving them each 3 to 4 minutes to candidly talk about the subject and their association with this subject in their capacity, how they tried making a difference. So Rashmi, beginning with you.
So very interesting, to actually talk about where we are, how much we've been able to actualize, and I do feel that in terms of the road traveled, it's immense. When you look at the kind of entrepreneurship range which today women have indulged into. Why I say the range is because it's the canvas is so huge. So the transformation that we find is not just in terms of number of women who have shown that they can lead successful business, who have shown that they can start a startup business and make it a success, being first generation without inheriting any family legacy. But also the fact that they have shown that the capacity to make a change exists in the domains which were earlier not really thought that they would have such brilliant opportunities. To give some examples, right now, as the Principal Resident Commissioner in Jammu and Kashmir, when the Honorable, I was going to say something, but remember now that as government, we also have the Code of Conduct. So, yes, so I'll probably not name, I'll not name, but just to bring that story of change. Now, there were 3 success stories that we had narrowed down from 250 for a particular event that we were, driving at, which was held in Srinagar. Now, these 3, out of the 3, there were 2, which were women-led business. Now, what it was like starting from just making simple curd at home, and then today into business which has expanded to different districts with a brand which is called Asli Dahi. Now, this woman was not really literate enough, starting with 1 cow and then today having a huge dairy and like having many people in the value chain. So you may have read this story somewhere. Number 2, the story of 4 friends who started a bakery, and with a dream now to have bakery with a brand in every district of Kashmir. Now, a place which was earlier thought to be turbulent and not conducive for many reasons, for any business opportunity. So the change when I'm bringing this particular example is because places like these which were often thought that, because of a lot of inclement conditions, adverse conditions, where women especially would not be able to break many stereotypes, they are bringing that promise of change. Now, Andaman and Nicobar Island, there again, in an island which was very remote, again in my capacity as the Secretary Industry, Secretary Social Welfare over there, I find that in the remotest of islands, women using local resources, untapped wealth of coconut to bring about, that virgin coconut oil, which was a dream to be for us, sitting here in Delhi to access, which is something pure and native, but making a business out of it with a brand. So, these are some examples which kind of give a huge promise that we are seeing not just the change in environment, the opportunities, but the fact that women are now believing more in their own capacity. The moderator here initially said that invest in women. I would actually say women are investing in themselves. Thank you.
Sorry to ask you the same question, but how it helps investing in women and how women are driving innovation.
Absolutely. I think wonderful work there, Vinita. I know you've been doing it for so long. And I guess I think we are at a very interesting time in history because just a look at the numbers, I think, so India produces the maximum number of women graduates in the world, which means the talent pool available to us is kind of unparalleled. And we also know that most class toppers, and they've been in those schools, were always girls, right? The other interesting thing, for the first time in the history of IIMs, 60% of batches, incoming batches, are women now, which means we're going to see more women become managers at a pipeline level, and this is like a really fantastic change. 10 years ago, I started Shiros, and India internet user base used to be about 10 million people, like men, women included. Maybe 2 million women were online. This is 2013. And the last known numbers is that we have about 700 to 800 million internet users, out of which at least 350 million users are women. And this change has happened last 8-9 years. And now, what is really happening here? I think what's happening here is anybody who tastes the internet and has a device just opens a personal world, right? I think we know that it's opening access to so many people. Payments added to internet is changing the game for people. I don't know if you remember English, but remember saving English. There are at least 200 million women in this country who have accessed internet for the first time. They're educated, they use payments, and they now use the internet as a way to build a business. So you could be a small beauty parlor socializing yourself on WhatsApp, or you could be building a next D2C brand on Shark Tank. You could be running a small factory, you could be running a yoga studio next door. So whether it's a small neighborhood business or a large SME, we're seeing this number swell. So last statistic of women entrepreneurs with a small business in India was 15 million. Our expectation is that by 2026, which is literally, we are standing there almost, this number will become 45 million women with a business enterprise. What that means is that we are looking at each of these enterprises employing at least 1 to 5 people. So, they employ 3 people. That's employment for 150 million people. And I think that's the power we're talking about. So it's not just women for themselves, it's women for the country. So investing in women is not just a good social construct. It is the economic engine that powers growth. It is the economic engine that powers consumption. Unfortunately, the other side of the fence is a little dark. For example, we know India is a massive credit market, and I know we have Citi on the table. Less than 10% of all credit in this country, whether it's a large bank or a small microfinance institution, many pool in all credit, all loans dispersed in this country. And I'm talking business loans, personal is even smaller. Like we only know that home loans go to women because there's a tax rebate, but it's really so credit availability to women is still a challenge. So if we want to open this, we got to look at that. Less than 2% of all venture capital. I know India has a huge startup India story playing out, and billions of dollars have come into this country, and they will come. But 2.5% of all dollars go to women. And I think the other sort of stark statistic is while we produce the maximum number of graduates, we're producing more managers. Our leadership numbers are really thin. So if you look at the number of women on boards in public listed companies, SEBI is always reprimanding companies for not having enough women on their boards. There are not enough women CEOs, and that number is declining. So I think the middle pipeline needs to be strengthened so that more women can lead organizations as we go from here. And of course, I think there are other challenges which I think we can talk about later. So we are at a place where a lot of factors are working for us, but if we don't capitalize this enough, we are at the risk of losing this momentum we have had.
My set of questions on that. And moving on to Ajay, who's the Delhi State Government Tax Commissioner. So I would go to my particular questions later, but right now, his perspective on investing in women.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's nice being here. It's an honor being here. The subject, the investing in women, is very topical. In fact, the other day I was reading Tom Peters, and he says that women are better managers than men.
Don't you know at home?
And home is beyond this. that we'll discuss later. But yes, Tom Peters says that and he gives the reason. He says the perseverance which is required in business. You have to stick to the job, and you have to be very patient. You have to be sincere. He said the brain of women is so designed that they are going to be better managers. And he says that when you talk of innovation, Tom Peters is a management guru, management legend in the current times. He says that this is the age of women. He goes to the extent of saying that.
It is.
It is. He said that, and I am also reminded when we were in school, we had a chapter. It was a lesson. It was a Niban. Hindi mein Niban bolte. It was by Mahadevi Verma, and its title was that स्त्री के अर्थ स्वातंत्र्य का प्रश्न. Swatantra means independence. And the legend that she was, and the great philosopher and writer that she was, she had gone into the historical perspective. She even talks of Yatuk, jisko abhi daheज बोलते हैं. So she mentions that traditionally most of our societies, the succession was to the male child. And she says that it has been happening, and the only thing they give to the women is Yatuk at the time of marriage, the gift. And that also later on became a bad word. People said giving money, buying the husband. Then she discusses in that why the women needs to be economically independent. She explains that unless she is economically independent, the position that she gets as a mother or a grandmother or a sister, these are all respectable positions. But genuine equality will only come when she is actually economically independent. So the thought process started, and then we have come along a long way, and there was a report submitted by the GIZ which I came across in the year 2022, which was on skill development and entrepreneurship, and it was GIZ in association with Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, which said that in India 20% of the MSMEs are owned by women. 20%. Only 20%. And especially in Delhi, the percentage is less than 10. In that, it is 9.26%. So the women-led enterprises, the number is still small, whether it is across the country or it is in the state of Delhi. And when we go to that 20%, that 20% is also solely in micro enterprises, not in the medium enterprises or in the small enterprises.
Or the big industry.
So it's in the micro. So we have to go a long way. But we also have the example of Tom Peters, who analyzes and says that yes, they can be trusted, they can be the leaders in management and they can be the leaders. One thing which I find is that there are issues. I mean, if I say from my department, my present department is Department of Trade and Taxes, which is the state GST, which is the GST. GST is now administered by the state and also by the center. They perform the same function, but some registered persons are with the state and some are with the center. The officers doing the function, administering it, are doing the same thing. So let us not be confused about central GST and state GST being different. But what I am saying is, there is no special provision for ladies as such. But as it is often said that people fear getting registered with the department because there have to be tax compliances. So in our case, if there is in the service sector, if the turnover crosses 20 lakhs in a year, then there is a need for getting registration with the department. And for the case of goods, it is 40 lakhs. But the department's working is gender neutral. So we don't have any specific policies as such. Yes, in other departments of the government, where I was earlier secretary in the government of Arunachal Pradesh, I was looking after labor and employment. So there we had workers. Now we don't call them laborers actually. Now the word used is generally workers, workmen or work persons like that. So especially in the northeast, the trust in the economic activity on women is more than what we find here in this part of the world, in this part of the country. So, and there, wherever the ladies are working, they are entrepreneurs doing agriculture, doing horticulture also, handicrafts. The shawls and the jackets, especially of Arunachal Pradesh, are very famous. We call them kale, which is the women wear kale and the men wear the jackets. They are doing well. Most of them are doing well, and they are respected. The formal literacy rate may not be there, but the general respect level, general responsibility level is high in the state of Arunachal Pradesh. That is what I experienced being Secretary Labor and Employment. Now, in general, if I come to my own understanding of the situation, I would say that some significant progress in the field has been done. Yes, what happens in entrepreneurship, just now when we were sitting here, so some of us, they were saying that entrepreneurs are bound to fail. One person said,
You
I
already
failed.
answered the question which I was going to ask you about the GST and taxes scare away many women from joining this foray. And I was in a all women's network the other day where we were meeting these micro entrepreneurs. Even before they have become micro entrepreneurs, their stress levels were so high that how could we comply with GST, or who would mentor us into understanding the taxation process of the government. So I don't know about those women because they came from a marginalized community. One thing, I'm not saying that from marginalized community there are no successful entrepreneurs. There are plenty. The point I'm trying to make is that if somebody who is well educated, who's born into a empowered, socially and economically empowered household, even for them, tax compliances are nightmarish. So just imagine somebody who's on the threshold of joining a business or joining a small enterprise. Should the what kind of mentorship should be provided that the women are not scared or afraid of becoming entrepreneurs? I don't know about others, but I can say for myself that I'm a successive failed entrepreneur. In every decade of my life, I tried something and miserably failed. So, how does the system take care of those aspiring women who want to do something, but then there are things that drive them away or scare them away? That might be a very personal story, but that is not just my story. That might be the story of millions of Indian women who are very scared about tax compliances and who are looking for different kinds of mentorship, not just taxes. So I will ask this question to my fellow colleague Ajay from corporate world, that what is the mentorship that the corporates are providing to women so that they can scale up as independent entrepreneurs, say after serving corporates for 10 years, 15 years, or when one wants to go independent in the journey of life.
So I bring in a couple of perspectives. One is that what is the corporate world doing for entrepreneurs, especially women entrepreneurs across the world. And second is the women entrepreneurs who are actually working in the high-tech industry. So I'll bring that perspective because what I tell everybody, all entrepreneurs, especially women, that अगर आप दही भी बना रहे हो, try to bring in artificial intelligence inside that, because that is going to rule the world after 2 to 3 years of investments. Try to bring in technology inside it. Now, if I speak from the corporate side, there are a lot of initiatives that are out there for women entrepreneurs to apply, get the funding. At least I come from the high-tech background, working in Nokia, Reliance, Ericsson. So they have been very supportive, and they have been providing funding. I know women who have been getting those $10,000, $20,000 support from these companies. Now, coming from I also am associated with a couple of foundations like Sherry Bay Foundation, and I've been mentoring women entrepreneurs, especially on the technology side across the world.
I'm going to use you on that.
Yes, I'll be very happy, and I'll try to bring in that perspective because that seems to be missing because most of the people are working at the ground level, which is fantastic. Now, when I actually mentor these women, they are facing some challenges. Now, we need to understand one thing: there is a natural difference between a man and a woman. Women are very passionate. And when these women are working in the technology side, and I'm talking only technology. So let me take this example of a woman who is based in India, comes from the minority community, working on mobile edge computing, one of the advanced technologies. She got funds from quite a few of the agencies like Aambra and etc., 100,000, $1 million, $500,000, and so on. Right now, at least a month back, she was having no funds. And I was in Bangalore and I spoke to her, why you are not having funds? You have been getting a lot of money. And the fundamental thing that I saw in her and I've seen in others is that they really get so passionately involved into the processes that it's like they are mentoring or taking care of a baby, which is not the case. Baby is a baby and business is business. And I give you another example. I have a friend who just sold a company for $160 million. I met him in Aerocity. And he said, what you are doing? I'm making this company. I said, okay, what is your plan? I want to sell it for 500 million or something like that by the end of next year, 2025. How will you do it? I said, I don't worry about the processes. I just want to market it and sell it out. Now, that's the difference. which I see, I'm generalizing, but that women really get very passionate, and to hold them and bring them out, you come out of the process, sell your company, sell your product, go out and market. It becomes very difficult for these entrepreneurs who are. So what I believe is that, and my suggestion is that women entrepreneurs should actually work with men mentors. Okay, and I'm not. This just uh, based on my experience, because they can help them pull them out and tell them to go and sell the product, because that is where they lack, and that is why they are getting less funding. They are more dependent on somebody funding them, and these guys who are from the Silicon Valley, they are more like make market it, sell it out. That little concept needs to get into the head of women, and then they'll be millionaires. You'll have more of Naikas in the market now, as you go forward. That has been my little experience in this.
Ajay, I would take your question in two ways. One, you said that the women should be mentored by men, which can sound a little offensive. And secondly, I would agree that women do need mentorship from men in many situations, especially when what I was talking about, that taxation process and taxation compliance is driving them away from starting their own businesses. And also, as I said repeatedly, that artificial intelligence, unless or until we extend that scope of the digital knowledge, or this the growing AI, how pervasive it is getting, unless or until we handhold women, how would their businesses survive? Because we are moving very fast from e-commerce to social e-commerce platforms.
So the first thing was not really gender based when I said they need to be handled by men. That if you are a woman entrepreneur, that woman, for example, has a $5 million company, and that valuation is $5 million today. I don't think so. Any taxi driver can mentor who's a man. No, I'm talking about people. The corporates. If you see the higher strata, fortunately, unfortunately, no comments there. They are driving. In my company they are pushing women that you can do it. They're training programs. This, and now we see more than 50% women in the STEM stream organizations. What I'm trying to say is that they need to find people who can help them take away from the passion and into the marketing element. And usually that trait is found in men. I'm not saying that that's the only way. So it's not gender specific. You need to be very, very. The second thing is about the taxation. Yes, financially, number-wise, if you see, and that is why there's a drive for girl students to get into STEM organization. I have a daughter, and I tell my wife I'm not worried about her. There's not, corporates are pushing. I'm just worried about my son, whether he'll get a job or not, because the way it's going. But when I talk to the doctors in my family, they are a little skeptical of mathematics. Business is numbers. I may sound a little different, but business is numbers. Nobody. When I tell this women entrepreneur, please focus on going and getting investment, she said they don't believe me. I said, because why they don't believe you? Because when they start asking numbers, return on investments, you are on your back foot. If you're on your back foot, nobody is going to give you money, whether you're a man or a woman, doesn't matter. So the STEM, course that you guys are doing at lower level, I think that's fabulous, and girls are not getting interested in numbers. What I want is that women at a younger age should not be scared of maths, not be scared of numbers, because that's going to work if you are getting into the business space. Otherwise, it's all fine. In the business, it's numbers. It's return on investment. You want 1 million, then when are you going to give me $5 million? That's the business. It doesn't matter you're a man or a woman. She thinks that she's not getting investment because she's a woman. That's not correct. She's not getting because she's not able to prove that if she gets $1 million, can she return back $5 million?
I will come back to you on it. So Saurabhji, you are our banker today and representing Sydney. So everybody, the entire panel has agreed on one thing, that women find it very, very difficult to get loans or money which they need to begin their enterprise, and the trust factor of the investor is usually lacking on women entrepreneurs. They find it very challenging to get financed. So now SIDBI, as a small industrial development bank of India, which is promoting micro entrepreneurs and also small organizations. What is your take on this? What is SIDBI doing in this?
Yeah, like Ajay was telling, that 20% of the entrepreneurs from entrepreneurs are micro entrepreneurs. So if we see the overall gambit of MSMEs, micro, small, medium enterprises, there are around 7 crore MSMEs, and many of, in fact, 90% of them are the micro enterprises, out of which the main problem that we see for the MSMEs, and that's the problem for the credit also, that most of these are basically unformalized, especially the micro sector. The 90% of the micro sector organizations, only 10% you will say the formalized, 90% are still unformalized. So if you are unformalized, you are not in system, you does not have proper PAN card and other documents and GST, etc. So what the problem is, like whenever you go to the bank will ask for your history, your civil records and all. So that's not available there. So the major problem with the micro enterprises is that their identity, that are they really micro enterprise? So in fact, when we talk about the entrepreneurship, most of us generally talk about the entrepreneurship in urban areas or maybe the new generation entrepreneurs. But the most important, the grassroots level entrepreneurs. Like, see, for the formulation, I will say SIDBI is has taken a major initiative. That is for the formulation in the Udyam Assist platform. Maybe you must have heard about it. So already in the last 1 year, 1.5 crore micro enterprises have been brought in the formal sector by the SIDBI, and many of them, you will not believe, are the women entrepreneurs, and they are really doing good, and they're very happy with this formulation because, see, there are various other initiatives by the government, like CGTMS is one of them. So there, in fact, you can get formal credits and without collateral up to 5 crores. Earlier, the limit was 2 crores, now it is enhanced to 5 crores. So for the women entrepreneurship, women entrepreneurs, there are special benefits are there, like the fees are low, and then the percentage of their project limit, they can get higher credits vis-a-vis the male entrepreneurs. So these type of initiatives are really required, especially at the grassroots level. So when we go to the grassroots level, the main problem what we find out is not the credit only, but besides the credit, this financial inclusion may be the one part, but skilling maybe that they are aware, but the skilling and I will say the more deeper capacity building is required at that level. So if you are going to the rural areas, I mean, I have seen like SIDBI, we are doing promotion development activities mainly, besides the financing, which is our like 3-4 things which is mandated towards the SIDBI Act. So promotion development, like when we are going at the rural areas and the villages. So then we are finding, okay, there are many male members which have migrated for jobs and all to the bigger cities. But the women there are, in fact, they are trying their best to become an entrepreneur. They are doing tiny jobs. Many artisans are there, and they are doing wonderfully well. And if they are promoted properly, then they can contribute a lot to the GDP of India.
So, the same question I'll ask SIDBI. So, somebody, as I was saying, a successive failed serial entrepreneur like me. So, is SIDBI organizations like SIDBI can do something to mentor them or do something about it, that where we are failing or what is happening?
Yeah, definitely. In fact, SIDBI is taking a lot of steps in the direction. If you are talking about the ventures, basically, so Government of India's sovereign fund, 10,000 crore sovereign fund, which is fund of fund basically, that SIDBI is managing, through which in fact we are investing various AIFs, and which further invest in the startups, basically the micro, small, medium enterprises, and that definitely a good share is there. Like we put up the term that okay, good share should go to the women entrepreneurs. That is definitely our role. Then we have created some for the awareness only. Like we have created some portals, especially the Udyami Mitra portal. If you see, so that is for the knowledge purpose only. Like okay, if you want to start something, what are the things required? What are the permissions required? How can you start your enterprises? And for the grassroots level enterprises, especially, we have given different type of the businesses. Okay, like these businesses are there. So, what the way? How can you move ahead? What permissions and all you required? How can you arrange the capital? CHT, MSc and all. In fact, we have also given, and then we have 100 plus branches also, through which we do direct funding. We have special schemes for the women entrepreneurs.
I hope our women entrepreneur guests are going to make use of these schemes and take more information from you later. Rashmi ji, because you've been a former GST commissioner also in JNK, and you were mentioning certain micro enterprises where women became so successful, they understood the importance how the branding and marketing of this pure coconut oil can, make them entrepreneurs. So my question to you is, as I was just saying, that women are very scared and they need mentoring when it comes to tax-related compliances. What are the other inclusivity challenges would you say that women face?
See, it's not just women. I would also feel that for any startup venture, number one is to have a supportive network is indeed important for any youth, men or women. So in terms of the knowledge base and in terms of getting supportive network, where women would probably find, an odd against them is the agility to reach out all the time. And that agility to reach out would probably put that constraint which probably men would not find that constraint. Yeah. To be able to go at odd hours, to be able to go anywhere, to be able to have a chat with anyone. And so these are some things which I felt was something probably because of which the inhibitions do come in the way. At the same time, there are a number of supportive networks of women also who are encouraging, including in the banks. Say SIDBI. Now, SIDBI itself, in one of the ventures which I had the opportunity to witness in a very remote place called Gurez. Now, in Gurez, number of women who were getting trained to actually become tourist guide or run their homestays. So, who was doing this training over there? I mean, it was a project where Army was involved, and Major is here, and I was really proud to see that. And so, a collaboration between say Army, SIDBI, and a local non-profit organization, a community-based organization. So those networks are important, which can bring individual strength to pull in, because that community-based organization was the one who could actually, sit and talk to the women, address their inhibitions. So that is very important, because probably SIDBI could not directly do it. Army could not directly do it where the CBOs pitched it. So I feel in terms of being able to address the challenges which invariably come in the way of any startup venture, and more so for women or young girls who are not themselves are able to utilize the various opportunities, the resources which are there. So that last mile connect is important. That whom do they talk to? Whom do they reach out? Because even virtual space today is not foolproof in terms of your security. And given the kind of cyber threat which is there, so we can't just say that because there's technology, so everything is safe out there. But being able to discern and then being able to smartly apply and being able to have a trustworthy network. So the trust factor, those networks, I do believe that they are now mushrooming in numbers, but probably not being able to, still cater to the huge demand which exists today. And I feel that it has to start from the very incubation in the college itself. There are a number of vocational training colleges, there are a number of polytechniques which are grooming people to come up with long aspirations, good innovative ideas, but them to be able to nurture, incubate, till the small business takes off. Because once it takes off, I think the initial teething problem, because Vinita talked about herself, but in her own way of agility, she has been able to kind of look at the ways in which she could capitalize upon her own inner strength, where there have been supportive networks. So you yourself stand as an example that probably you tried different things, but well, at the end of the day, a good fit does emerge in terms of where you can make a success. And Aambra today, what you're doing today, she speaks. What you're doing in terms of sustainability speaks for itself. So I do feel that women also need to take a call in terms of being able to identify all these partners, form the coalitions, form their core group, break this inhibition which is there, not to trust anyone, because you don't. I do feel that you need people, you need networks.
And talking of networks, of course, Saidiji comes to my mind because she has successfully created so many networks and has a great entrepreneurial journey besides Mahila Money. So, how do you think that women can leverage these networks and how they can strengthen their pursuit, their journey into entrepreneurship?
I think the entrepreneurial playbook is very similar. We survive because we have supportive peers. Entrepreneurs support entrepreneurs. We may say that we need support from government, we need capital, but the truth is the best entrepreneurial ecosystems are the ones where entrepreneurs are banding together. Silicon Valley is a classic example. We also saw that in microfinance, right? Microfinance is classic. Women meeting in a group and sort of being each other's support system is also your social space, safe space. We took the same concept and built online platforms. So Shiro's is about 10 years old. When we started Shiro's, the idea was to literally build a safe space and to, in some ways, reduce the physical barrier. The truth is, it's still hard to get out to a physical space. There is a lot of friction there. Can we leverage the internet to do a lot of this? I know all of us now live in some WhatsApp communities. So Shiro's was a social platform. It added a lot of free resources. So for example, it had a free counseling helpline, it had a skilling platform, a remote work platform, a lot of safe space to hang out and literally say what's on your mind, ask for help. When we built Mahila Money, we took the same principles but said, let's apply it to capital. So when you come to Mahila Money, you can build, you can get what we call productive capital. So literally, a whole generation of women who don't fit into, like Sir said, the MSME narrative, and they don't fit into the microfinance narrative, but they're building businesses. They all use digital payments. They all have a home-based business or a small business or a shop. They are on the verge of getting GST registered, but
I'm
probably
curious, is it an NBFC? What is Mahila Money?
no. We are a technology platform, so you can call us a neobank. I know RBI doesn't like it too much, but that's one way to understand. So we do everything that a bank does, but we do it by partnering with banks, NBFCs, insurance companies, and other regulated product providers. But the difference is in the experience. So it's built for women entrepreneurs with a lot of support built in. So again, classic question: how do I grow my business? How do I market myself on Instagram? How do I do GST? So we actually have a help desk, which is legal and finance tech. So you can come to us and ask us anything. We also invite a lot of people from the community who've done well to come back and share their stories. It's all on live video. Now, interestingly, if this was in the offline world, we would take 10 years to get there. We're a 2-year-old organization that serves 4,000 locations. So entrepreneurs from 4,000 locations are using the platform. So my assumption here is that the digital highway is the way to go. to create a lot of scale. I'm still not ruling out the need for close, locally integrated communities, but everybody is also now a global citizen, irrespective of where they live, what class they come from, what's their gender. The aspiration is to move up, is also to increase your income levels, it's also to learn. Like we all have become natural learners thanks to YouTube, right? We're also looking at things that are of interest to us. So we're seeing that there is a great opportunity in building close-knit cohorts, but build them online so that you can distribute widely. And this can go, anywhere. I think once, done like I said a million times, it will become something very, very powerful.
Thank you. I can't say that I don't have more questions to each one of you. I have. But I have to ask my gatekeeper, is it the time for Q&A with audience, or can I just carry on with this conversation a bit more? Geeta? Is it time for Q&A with audience, or do we have a few minutes? No, it's over. It's over. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. I love that.
You have 7 minutes though.
Yeah, so lot of entrepreneurs here and lot of lovely women here, and banks and corporate here too. So please shoot to if you have any questions for any of us.
Well, I'm very encouraged with all the inputs from everyone. I'm Vindhya, I work with an embassy, so I'm in a very bureaucratic setup. But like Vinita, I've also tried a number of things. And like Ajay said, women are very passionate. I'm very passionate about giving back to society. So I have a community building organization. But like you said, since COVID happened, it has taken a lot of backstep. Because I'm so hesitant to, ask people for contributions. Like we were doing a lot of work in the section of literacy for children, and initially it just started with friends pulling in funds, and a lot of people joined in, and we were able to educate a lot of children till about class 5. And after that, I moved on to this platform where we are successfully doing courses for young adults, and that is where I find a big gap, that they are learning computers. And this is in Delhi. This is in like South Delhi in Saket, and the Gurdwara there has given us a big space for a library which I set up as a community library, a safe space, and this is free computer and English classes. But the challenge which I'm facing is how to, that last mile, how to make these children, financially independent, how to have a tie-up with the industry so that, you do a course, all these young adults, they all want jobs related to computers. But how does one bridge that gap? So since I am I'm not trained to, so I find that gap. We have more than, we have almost 2,000 students. So, this section of society is a very dynamic section which can be channelized in the right way for the benefit of our country. This is just a small microcosm. So this is my, you all set me thinking, although I came to join as a poet here, but you all set me thinking on this one of my projects.
Any other questions? Yeah, please. To whom? Your question. Please introduce yourself and address your question. Yes. Sure.
It's more a comment than a question. A rhetoric question. I know Anand is going to like this, what I'm going to say. But Vidya, thanks for bringing it up. The last mile connectivity or the missing link, I would just say 2 words or 1 word: mindset. We talk about Wade describes in about 35 words from Aditi to Yosa about his 3. Is it only going to remain in the Vedas, or are we going to translate it in the society? The very reason, the stigma of going and asking for funding, it's just not limited to women alone. It also is in the realm of men as well. So when are we going to break that? So I'll pose a question to the universe in India. So that's one. And of course, impact investment is what I also work with. And more of the community-based organizations are needed. But then again, what are we driving it towards? What are the impact that we want to see it? Can we go with laser focus, as I rightly put it? men have that cold, emotionless approach, and only in that context I would agree with you. But then it's women who are going to solve and take on the greater challenges of the planet as well. So I'll shut up about that, and thank you.
So, just extending what you just said, that at home, right from the time we are thrown into an alliance, we are the bankers at home, most of the homes, and there are challenges there, decision making challenges and spending that money, but as a lady of the house, in some households at least, women know how to budget that money, distribute that money, invest that money, whom to trust with that money, whom not to trust with that money. But when we try to just go out of that limitation and try translating it into a business or something which is a little out of the scope of that family, that we are trying to access finance, but the kind of questions that we are, the kind of questions that we are asked, that many of us lose morale to ever ask for money again, whether it is from government treasuries, banks, or investor capital, investment, wherever it is coming from. It's again, because we are talking about inclusivity, because we are talking about investment in women, so there are a number of trust challenges which stem from just the fact that because we are a woman, so as it is, we are afraid of so many things, and when we take a step forward and try reaching out for finance, we again face that kind of barrier where we are not being trusted. And if you see the return of the women borrowings as compared to men borrowing, and the compliance in return, when we return the money, I think it's far greater than men who borrow money and return money, if we look at these statistics. So Anand, you have to say something. Yeah, please, we're waiting. Yes.
Hi, it was a very fascinating discussion. Perhaps it was phrased unexpectedly differently, what Aditi said. But I think it's a classic catch-22 situation. When people say that women need men as mentors, the issue is that most of the people who are in higher position to be able to conduct themselves as mentors are men.
Yeah, that is why I agreed with him.
Yeah. So it's a problem there, but let me illustrate that with an example.
Yes.
And I'm not just talking of physical faculties where yes, there is genetic differences. So yes, if you require a person of specific physical attributes, then yes, there has to be a difference made. I mean, some jobs in the army, for armed forces, are a classic example. But I'm just talking.
We had a very good discussion on that. You missed that.
I'm so sorry I missed that. Parking issues outside.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about one very pertinent issue that's very dear to me. Let me give you some data that was collated last year from STREE and also DGCS. I have incidentally on Indian university students, 51% male, 49% female. Indian university teachers, IIC Bangalore, 91% male, 9% female. IIT Bombay, 90% male, 10% female. Banaras Hindu University, 90% male, 10% female. JNU, 75% male, 25% female.
Yes.
Jamia Millia, 88% male, 12% female. So clearly there is something.
Clearly, that is why.
Now, how do you explain it?
Yeah.
You can
totally.
As far as intelligence is concerned, science has shown that both women and men have equal mental attributes. So, are we not encouraging enough faculty or teachers to be women? I personally feel, yes, that is a lacuna, and that must be filled up. Apart from the fact that many people excuse this away as family rearing, child rearing, and all that. That can't explain so much of difference, 90-10. So that issue has to be tackled.
Yeah. Again, I think it's for another day, but that will be a ecosystem building kind of a discussion, which we are almost discussing today, similarly. So, any more questions to any of our esteemed panelists? Yeah, please. Please also introduce yourself. I think you did not introduce.
Alright, hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I am Geetika, I'm the founder of There For You. And I had a comment actually to I just wanted to add to what is being talked about. So, of course, we're not encouraged in the society a lot of times, but there's also an interesting concept called imposter syndrome, which women actually have it a lot more than men. So, this is actually adding to your point, Mishra. Imposter syndrome is simply that women aren't confident enough to feel that they deserve the money, the place in the room, or even to be able to be successful. It's conditioning, of course, from society, but it's also a lot of lack of confidence. And this is something I wanted to ask the women panelists on as well. Is how did you overcome that imposter syndrome, and have you overcome it yet? Because it does require a lot of talking and confidence building, and of course a great support system as well. But do you think that you have been able to overcome it, and if so, how have you done that? Sorry,
Is your
for
questions?
Okay.
Hope is your
Okay, so I'll come in there, and in terms of the group travel, I mean, we should not forget the fact that we were actually looking at a situation of missing girls altogether. So, breaking glass ceiling comes much later. We were actually faced with a situation where, I mean, the numbers were declining, dwindling like anything. 2011, I mean, if you see the child sex ratio, 1,000 men and around 800 girls. Yeah, it was not natural. So let's accept it that traditionally, historically, where we were growing, it was something not natural at all, and it would have threatened our entire social fabric, in a very, very grievous manner. Yeah, something to be really, really concerned about. So we were, as far as the government is concerned, like recognizing this challenge. You see, like this entire dance, even if like it looks like one slogan, Beti Bachao, but it was that PCPNDT Act hai, uske baad bhi, it was feticide happening in large numbers, and so that had to be checked, that had to be arrested. And now when you look at the data, of course, there's upward trend happening, and in many districts, where it was like down even to 700, 1,000 boys, 715. Girls, like that those were the kind of disbalance. Now, in terms of our own personal journey, I mean, having spent like years in like public service, and I do think that yes, I mean, it was proving all the time that not just that you can do it, but you can do it better. Yeah, so that does stay with us. But I'm not sure that whether that is because of being a woman or because of a particular spirit in you that yes we have to excel in what we are doing. So that also depends on you see, when the odds are weighed against you, maybe it will haunt you more, that you need to, for example, like talking about my journey, I have traveled in every district of Kashmir, which like many of my predecessors, men, and they had not seen. But why is it that I could go everywhere? So somewhere that our own drive, and so then the boundary also distinguishing boundary between a men and a woman, that kind of melts because we are not conscious. I'm not conscious that I'm doing it as a woman. I'm only conscious that I'm a professional who has to excel in my work. So I think that factor works, largely for all women in their own respective domains, that we have to excel. And that's the kind of spirit which I have at least witnessed in most of women who have made it into a success in whatever domain that they've invested their energies in. Would you like to come in?
I think imposter syndrome is for real, and it's there because there are a lot of things working towards it. So just the initial childhood confidence, right? I think so. Let me share personal background here. I grew up in a small town called Muzaffarnagar. And I saw two things. I saw deeply orthodox behaviors, literally, when women entered a room where four men were talking, and they would be saying, "Ye siyasat ki baat hai, tum bahar jao," right? And we've all seen this statement, "You do not belong to this room." It's so confidence reducing, and I don't know one family in India where this has not happened at some level, that you don't belong here, you're not capable enough, or you're not clever enough for this conversation. However, I grew up in steel plants. My dad's a steel industry engineer, and we lived on campus. So I grew up. There's nothing around, so there's no other social. There's not a lot to do, and I hung out with him as a child. So you can say I was steel hardened. So when I was a child, my mother used to say, "Tujhe superiority complex hai." Again, see the conditioning. A confident girl has superiority complex. You would never say that to a boy. And I think we are so deeply built like that. The third thing is not allowing women to fail. If you want somebody to be a champion, you have to allow them to fail. A lot of life is like sports training. You bruise your knees, you fall down, you train every day. You actually fail every day. You only win your trophy like once or twice, right? And I think those are some hard conditioned behaviors. And I think the only way to do this is to really own your narrative. The truth is, once you've recognized that these are some of the things that have been part of my narrative, you can break them, and you can break them in so many ways. And I've seen that, like, when I first raised venture capital, India had barely 5 funds, and there are no women raising funds. Women building for women raising funds was unheard of. So I got a lot of no's. I probably got 100 no's before, somebody put in their first check. But that's new to the game, right? So I guess being able to give our children the confidence of being who they are. So whether they are creative or sporty or nerdy, I think we have to let people thrive in their self.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. The only thing again which I would like to add to what you've just both said, that here the support system, the network, the family, if you have something to fall back to, then you would resurrect, you would rebuild, you would spring back. And when these networks are lacking, where these networks are weak, then it becomes very difficult to own up to your failures and come back.
Vinita, I would just contribute to the. This is just me.
Yeah.
I just contribute great discussions. I did a project for Ministry of Tribal Affairs wherein we were upskilling the women who were master artisans. Now these women were from states across India, and so Kerala, you have a black pottery, you have bamboo in the northeast, you have Madhubani paintings in Odisha, and so on and so forth. So we were to train a sample size. And what we were to train on, we were not to train them on the commodities that we were selling. We were to train them on the fact that how are they able to sell on the social media and how are they able to have financial literacy. One takeaway from the entire exercise was that we don't have to teach women financial literacy, women have to own it. That is very important. I mean, there's a small example from one of my ex-bosses I heard was that तुम घर आते हो और तुम्हारे 2 बच्चे रो रहे हैं और गैस खत्म हो गई है, तो खाना कैसे क्या करोगे? Will you let your children cry, or will you मारो हाथ पैर and figure out something that you can give to children? So I think it was a very strong impression that I carried during my stay with a particular boss. And then of course the same thing that in fact I was doing a session with Chetna Sinha from Mandeshi Bank. I don't know how many of you would have heard. And the same thing that she was saying, that we are teaching financial literacy. So the financial literacy, they know the point is this: how much are they going to own it up and how much are they going to do it in the way that is required. Because going forward, we have to understand there will not be any more women leaders, there will only be leaders. So that is the way that we actually have to do it. And somewhere down the line, the whole emphasis that we are giving, of course, this is the topic which says that she speaks, but then going forward, she will have to be dropped and speaks will have to be reinforced, across all mediums, across all stratas. And great, that just my two bit which I wanted to add into the thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Jasmine. And my timekeepers are staring at me, so we have to end the session.
Oh, that was beautiful.
Please give me a moment to thank my panelists. Thank you, Rashmi ji. Thank you, Sari ji. Thank you, Ajit ji. Thank you, Ajit ji. Thank you, Saurabh ji, for your very precious time and being here for this.
It's always scary to say thank you. When I say thank you, are we getting the chief minister?
That is why you were somewhere lost and we could find you.
Vinita would request you to felicitate all the panelists.
By the way, Madhubani is not in Odisha.
Yeah, I said we have
Not 24/7.